week, and we're starting off Monday night with some Overwatch 2. Tonight, the lower bracket finals to decide our grand finalists. Well, one of the two. There's a team already waiting up there. But my name's Llama77. I'm joined by the handsome Captain Soka here tonight. Cap, how you feeling?
Well, now I'm just feeling flattered. My goodness, handsome. I've been described many ways in the esports community. Handsome, that's a first for me. My goodness, I'm blushing over here. Thank you so much. As once again, we are here for the Unified Collegiate League. Into the postseason we go, and it has been a doozy. Now we have made it all the way into the lower finals, and we have only one more game before we go to grands for Overwatch 2.
Yeah. One more game, but you talk about things that are a doozy. You know what else could be a doozy? Blue light. It's so annoying. I mean, we're on our devices all day long. You know what can help you? We just saw the ad for it. Get you some Buy blue light glasses, the best quality in the industry. Protect yourself from some of that harmful light. And of course, the amazing crew over there, we got to give them a thanks for not only sponsoring the UCL for the first time, but the second time around. So go pick up yourself a pair and protect yourself today.
Yeah, I got to tell you, you're hardly ever going to see me on anything and not have my blue light lenses on. I got to tell you, it definitely reduces my headaches when I'm staring at the screen for a very long time. And, you know, I got to tell you, as, you know, esports enthusiasts, I feel like we're all staring at screens for a very long time. So definitely couldn't hurt. But speaking of things that hurt, let's talk about how we made it here in this bracket all the way into the lower finals, because I got to tell you, neither of these teams really wanted to make it, you know, didn't want to really go to the lower finals to begin with, but here we are. I mean, you're looking at PSU in their last bout with Briar, they managed to take that game 3-0, knocking Briar down into the lower bracket, and then Briar went on to get a 3-1 over Mount, and then another 3-1 over GVU to find themselves in the lower finals. PSU, like I said, had taken that game 3-0 over Briar the last time they met, and then got 3-0'd in the upper finals against BSCVA, and now BSC is in the grands, and PSU and Briar both fighting to get that final spot there in the grand.
I mean, it's a tight race. You get to play an opponent that you previously played, so hopefully for Briarcliff are learning from that previous matchup. Important to note, this matchup today we are watching as another best of 5, first to 3, whatever you want to call it. Winner does go on, like we've said, towards that grand finals to play BSC with all of our other finals action going on. But not only do we have these playoffs going on this week, Captain, we've got a whole entire schedule. It is playoffs time. Here's the schedule for this week.
Yep, today is all about Overwatch 2. Tomorrow, we're going to be running some of the car soccer. That's right, we got Rocket League. And then on Wednesday, it is League of Legends. Thursday, it's going to be Valorant. And Friday, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. So again, we have a lot to go through this week. Today is just the beginning.
Just the start, and of course we've also got to give a shout towards the UCL finals and playoffs that are going to be happening here in just a few weeks. A couple of those lands coming up on November 16th, 17th, and 24th, 25th. So make sure, if you guys are not already, hit that follow button here on the Unified Live channel. Turn on those post notifications so every single time, in person or remote, you can catch all that action.
Oh, absolutely. And now let's talk about our two teams that we are getting ready to see go head to head tonight. Of course, that is going to be PSU and Briarcliff. Like we had already mentioned, these two teams have met before, and it definitely went the way of PSU. It was a little bit one-sided, and which is really surprising, because when you look to see who Briarcliff, you know, beat to make it into the lower finals, it was GVU. And GVU is the only team so far that managed to at least take a game off of BSC. So I was really expecting GVU to be in these lower finals, but Briarcliff, they stepped up there, and I think it was the lower semis.
Yeah, they were able to step up, win that matchup, and like we said, this is an interesting matchup where Penn State sure won the previous bout between the two, but now this is going to be the third time these teams have met. They got to meet in the regular season, they got to meet in the playoffs, and now again they get to meet in each other's way to try and go off towards those grand finals. So I think it's important for Briarcliff. What did you learn from that previous map? Was it a map choice that maybe turned you off the wrong track, or was it hero selection, or maybe was it just an off day? Did you guys not get enough sleep? Was it an exam day or something?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been X, Y, or Z, but none of that matters anymore. All that matters is getting ready to go into this next match, and whoever takes it, again, being in that it is a first of three, is going to be going on to the grand. So again, all of the past no longer matters. Doesn't matter how you did, in the upper semis. Doesn't matter how you did in the regular seasons. All that matters is how you are going to do in the lower finals coming up just shortly.
It's right here, right now for these two teams. Get three and you're in the grand finals. And the unfortunate thing is we're already in the lower bracket. So for these two teams, it's not like you have that second life, the chance to bounce back after. It is win now or wait until that spring season to try and pick up the win, pick up the trophy at the end of the season. And honestly, for some of these younger teams, some great playoff experience, you gotta say. But now you're in the depths. It's win or go home.
Absolutely. And you know what I'm thinking? I really hope we don't see, like, a 3-0 scenario like we saw in the upper finals. I don't think that's going to be the case. Again, I do think Briar is going to be a little bit more difficult. Again, they have been in the lower bracket, for the last the last two of their matches. So again, I think they may have had a little bit of a mishap when they faced PSU the first time. And I think they have learned from it. I don't think we're going to see them going 3 out again.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like they've improved over the course of it. And when we always talk about lower bracket finals, it's always interesting to see two teams that are coming in off of different paths. Even though it was a week ago, you have one team that's off a successful victory to get here, and you have one team that lost to get here as well. So even though it is that second chance, momentum is huge, especially in Overwatch, even if it is from week to week. Briarcliff, though, still do need to step up against a great team here tonight.
Yeah, and honestly, I can't wait to get this one started. Now, of course, we pretty much have throughout the season ran this format, right, where we're going to start on hybrid, then we're going to go to control, and then push, and et cetera, et cetera. But again, we have already seen multiple times throughout the season where you could start off a little bit sluggish, and you go down, and you lose a match, unfortunately, starting things off in control, or you starting off on King's Row. You lose that early game, and then we have seen bounce backs. As a matter of fact, I've actually seen a complete turnaround once the series ended up going to push, because push is such a different game mode than the first two. It's a lot different than control. It's a lot different than hybrid. So again, there really is no set and done. Nothing is set in stone here.
That's 100% true. And from week to week, of course, we know maybe you're practicing a specific map for this scenario that maybe your opponents are practicing. Your bans are going to be important here as well. Maybe something didn't work well last week that you definitely want to change. So there's a lot of moving pieces here, but the most important thing, like you said, is it's a new day, it's a new game, and it's a new life for both of these two teams to try their hardest to win this series. And we always say, even though, yes, you'll win the series by those back couple of games, I know you and I always love to see a team come out swinging early on.
Oh, absolutely. And then not to mention, I feel like it has been so long since the very beginning of the season all the way until now to the postseason. I'm wondering if like the meta has changed with it, because again, throughout the season, it's been a lot of Ram Rush with Juno. Again, we have seen a lot of swap ups on the tanks every now and again, but a lot of the time you'll end up seeing that Ramatra come out at least once during a series. So again, I'm wondering, from the beginning of the season up until now in the postseason, has things changed? Have there been new developments as far as like the meta is concerned? Is Juno still that support powerhouse that we have seen all season long? How are they getting paired with in the support? Again, a lot of the times, you're looking at the support backline, and I've been seeing a lot being that secondary with Juno. I mean, I've seen some Zenyatta's come out to be the second to Juno. Again, it's just been crazy to see, all the different changes that each team is making compared to the start of the season up until this point.
Yeah, honestly, I've been watching some other leagues, some high school leagues, things like that. Reinhardt is starting to get a resurgence back in towards the meta. I mean, Reinhardt always is kind of meta combined with it. I mean, the Nano Rein is a combo almost as famous as history itself. And it'll be interesting to see if these players utilize something new that maybe they've been testing out, or like we said, if it's all back to that comfortability. Maybe you've been playing the Ram Rush the entirety of the season. You don't want to change what's been working, especially if you are Penn State. I'd have some hesitations to say, okay, we won 3-0. We don't really need to change anything per se unless we lose that first map.
Exactly. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. By all means, you won the last series 3-0, and that was in the upper semis, right? So again, you want to try and replay that same strategy. However, once you see that Briarcliff could be playing a little bit differently, like you start to get that hint, you're seeing, okay, this is not what they did last time, then by all means, change things up, try and come at it with something new. But until then, you have to allow them to force you to change. Again, if it's working for you, don't try and overthink it. Now is not the time for overthinking. Now is the time to do what you do best. Play with your best characters, go for the comfort picks. If that's what you play best on, don't try and get too fancy with it. Don't overthink it, because I've seen so many times teams that go through the regular season, play great in the regular season, and then all of a sudden they're trying something new in the playoffs, and then they just absolutely flop.
Yeah, it's tough to change what's already working, and we are going to be hopping on into map number 1. We're headed to Ilios, a nice little sub-map to start us out. The house in between, some cover from high to low. Briarcliff in the blue, Penn State in the red. It's time we get going.
This is one of the first times that, at least for my time here at the Unified Collegiate League, where we started on Ilios. I'm not used to starting here, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, I'll see Lijiang. We'll go to Lijiang a good bit, and then if not Lijiang, then maybe Monastery. Again, just Ilios just doesn't come up as the first map that often, and it's great that we're starting it off here for the lower finals.
Great map to start us through. The sim teleport will get some speed here already in towards the boots. The question is going to be not necessarily on this map, but I love that Ilios map with the pit right in the middle. Maybe we get to see some Roadhog, the hook battle, but already the Tracer battle is something we're getting to see. BMT already had to blow their teleport as the point unlocks here in 5.
Seeing some 2 different support core comps again for Briarcliff. You have the Brigitte and you have that Ana. Again, Ana, my favorite character. Love seeing Ana. Love the anti-nade. Love the sleep dart. Love everything about it. But what you're seeing coming from PSU has been the meta for what feels like the entire season. You're looking at the Brigitte and you're looking at the Juno as the main support core. Honestly, that has been the most stable meta so far this season, even more so than the tanks. Again, we're talking about Ramacha a lot, but here in this matchup, you got a D.Va taking on a Winston.
Absolutely do. The ability to eat those projectiles is very lovely, but Spooky Spanish finds their way into the backline, does some damage, and dips back out to safety. QLM sniping the Echo out of the sky. It's a little bit longer range composition from Briarcliff. You also have the Ana, which you talk about, that sleep dart. It's huge, but it's also a 15-second cooldown if you miss it. QLM is just ripping through members out of the sky. Out, goodbye. That's 3, and that's going to be the fight win for PSU.
That's absolutely filthy. You know what? And I'm thinking to myself, is this where you want to go long range? I mean, right now, if you're shooting like the way QLM is, then yeah, you definitely want to go long range. And again, it's a great strat because for the most part, QLM doesn't even have to be on the payload. They just have to deter everyone else from going to the payload. And it just makes for a very difficult, retake to try and go onto point while you're being head clicked from all the way across the site.
And that's one of the big things we talk about with this Ilios submap, is it has that high load ground. QLM has that safety to kind of work around with the ability to play back with the teammate as the shield on one of them. It is going to be the duplication, but already Bob putting out the damage, tanking as well. Spooky Spanish is able to pick up 1, but QLM is on an absolute rampage. What started as a Briarcliff 40%, PSU is immediately matched.
Yeah, but I'm liking this back and forth initially. I mean, a lot of the time, you'll see one team get to the 90 percentile, and then there'll be like a last second stop, and then all of a sudden, the opposition decides to show up and play. I like that it's a change of pace here in the lower finals that we're seeing. We're not letting them get to these outrageous percentages. We're going to stop it before they hit 50, and then we're going to come with the retake.
The retake before it gets too late. The orbital laser raining down for heals, for damage, and QLM is back with a double headshot combo, and that's just one of the things Juno does. We talk about the healing so often, but the damage is absolutely nutty. A longer angle is going to be utilized from QLM here.
Yeah, I was about to say QLM MVP so far. I mean, it feels like they don't miss. They have literally just been clicking heads non-stop. Now they're looking a little low. They do get the heals, and finally they will be eliminated by this primal rage coming from Winston.
Rages out, takes down one, unfortunately. Did try to take back the point, and that left him with only 120 HP. Juven, Jodello, they're able to pick up a kill each, but the follow-up fight here is going to be a takeover from Briar Cliff. BSU without a couple of their members, not trying to funnel in one by one, but they still have a lot of time left to your 50% to build up those ultimates.
Yep, that they do. Right now, only the Diva ult is at the ready, but we still have several ults coming around the corner now. As once again, no change in the story here. It's just QLM just clicking heads continuously. As once again, they find themselves on the point, trying to deter the likes of Briarcliff from closing that gap. But I mean, here we are, OT, the last bit of time ticking down. Bob comes out, and that will do it. PSU Blue managed to come away with the first round here on Ilios.
Love their bounce back. I mean, you talked about it, this kind of back and forth that we had. Briarcliff started things out really well, and then the response from Penn State to be able to just QLM, honestly, like you said, MVP, finding all those longer angles, but the rest of the team as well, especially that orbital laser from Giulio earlier on. Lovely stuff to see. We don't move to the pit map just yet here, but it is a second sub map. Briarcliff need to win this one if they don't want to give over that first map point.
Yeah, and you know what? Right now we're seeing that Widowmaker v Widowmaker matchup, and now take a look at this. We're getting Symmetras out as well, and I love Symmetra. When it comes to, like, you know, again, like turret-based characters, you know, we're talking about, of course, Torbjorn. I'm definitely more on Team Symmetra in that regard. Like Torbjorn, they have their maps, they have their instances, but overall, if I'm taking a turret-based character, I'm definitely going Symmetra.
I am too. I mean, you get the turrets as well. You get the teleport, everything. Yeah. That's really nice to get your team there fast, but for right now, it's Juven with a headshot onto Giulio. We already talked about the healing and damage that Juno can provide. No longer there. The switch up of tanks is going to be Spooky Spanish on Orisa, so trying to hit some of those spears, trying to use the Fortify, and it will be actually BCU again taking this point early.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, my nerd sense is going off. Did I see an Illidan Storm Rage Genji? Like, I know the Blizzard DLC, like the Blizzard cosmetics just dropped. So yeah, that is the Illidan Storm Rage Genji. That is so sick. Again, I'm a big World of Warcraft fan, if you can't tell. Love this look for Genji, and again, I don't mean to try and like plug, you know, the cosmetics, but my goodness, it just makes the Genji look that much cleaner when they're coming out and performing like that.
For Jodello, you talk about this kind of Genji v Genji duel, them and DMT trying to find out who can win the 1v1. It really is important to find that backline. As much as you are looking stylish, you got to style your way on in. DMT loses a lot of HP there pretty quickly, but ULM is back on the headshots, and facility is what's going to be dropped on out. They're not only dropped out of their mech form, but the baby form is taken care of as well. And this time around, PSU hasn't been able to take back this point. Cliff is over 50% already.
Yeah, but keep in mind, you know, it was Briarcliff that managed to get on the point first and get that early lead. Granted, it was only around 43%, but still, PSU Blue managed to make some pretty significant comebacks. However, the Dragon Blade coming out from Jodello, that is definitely going to, you know, cause a little bit of an issue there for PSU Blue.
It delays for so much time. It's up to 73% already for Briarcliff. They'll have to wait a little bit for Jodello to get back in the fight. Juven is taken down to a 4th HP as this Widow v Widow battle continues. So many long angles that you can make use of here on this sub-map of Ilios. But for PSU, you've got to build up those ultimates. You have to be ready for those next couple fights because Briarcliff wants to send into that 3rd sub-map.
You know, right now, I'm just going to trust the process for PSU Blue. I mean, Briarcliff, they're doing great right now. Again, they have a phenomenal lead. There's no reason to panic just yet. You know, it's going to take PSU Blue a little bit of time to get there, but my goodness, I mean, we're seeing the long-range game coming out, and it is literally hitting. And that last elimination actually came from the Zen, and I even talked about that before we came in. I've been seeing Zen come out with that back line along with Juno, and we're seeing it here for Briarcliff.
One of the problems about running this Widow, I mean, it's longer range than the Ashe. You're not as up there with your team, and the Terra Surge is going to push them even further back. QLM will fall. The break is going to be in the middle of an orbital laser from the sky. DMT pops the blade, takes the point, and Giulio will take another as well. The high ground damage will delay things for longer. The overtime fuse is reset. for now. Penn State must win this next fight, and the Genji duel, the 1v1 is what we ensue in, but TMT doesn't have the HP. The duel, though, from Otter is won.
You know what? I'm going to say skins get wins, man. You can't just take an easy dub off of Illidan Storm Rage. It doesn't happen that way. But with that being said, I mean, you can clearly see PSU Blue did manage to take the point, so clearly skins don't get wins. Just doing it for the memes for the most part. But now we got QLM going for the jump shots there, nearly being able to get the target on point, but just barely off. Not going to be able to capitalize here, as now you can see Otter trying to hold the things in perspective here for PSU Blue, as they are slowly but surely trying to close that gap.
That in for sight. It is gonna be popped here from the Widow, trying to hold down some of these angles, and even though Otter was very far forward, getting some great value, that laser from the sky heavens is going to be able to provide that healing, but now Otter has gone very far forward, has the Diva Bomb up and available if they want to use it. 75% for Penn State. They've already gotten a one-round win here. They would love another. Spooky Spanish almost on their ultimate, but Jodello pops the blade. They want the fight now, but Jodello is cut down before they get any value.
Yeah, it looked like they got stunned by the Brigitte shield bash, if I'm not mistaken. That's what it looked like. They got stunned out of the Dragon's Blade and were instantly eliminated. So again, great play for the backline, because when you're a Genji, that's your objective, is to go dive and try and take out the backline, take out the support. So again, great heads up plays being made there by PSU Blue, who managed to come away and literally steal the win.
Started with 75% for Briar, but the fights, the value of that Brig in the backline was huge. We'll take a look at that play of the game. QLM from that first map was just insane. Through the bushes, headshot into a couple more. Put it in the highlight reels if you've ever got them.
I love that we called it when it happened. Like, we saw the play go down. We're like, QLM MVP, yeah, confirm. 100%. I mean, my goodness, they definitely outperformed themselves, and they played phenomenal. As a matter of fact, the entire team did, especially, you know, going from the first round into the second, because again, in the first round, you know, they were a little bit more comfortable. You know, they were able to make that early comeback. They stopped the initial push at around 43%, and then they managed to take control. Now going into round number 2, things were getting a little bit more shaky. They were getting a little bit more nervous, because all of a sudden now that first initial push from BCU went all the way up to like 70, 76, 77%. And now all of a sudden, okay, you have your backs up against the wall here. They nearly escaped with that second round win. It got so close, and they managed to hold BCU to 99%. Absolutely incredible.
It was lovely, and I think the work back is something that's honestly sometimes tough for Overwatch players when you say, oh, we're already down 75%. Are we going to even be able to battle back? And the fight, the dedication was there, but it also goes to show you, for BCU, it doesn't matter if they're losing series is 3-0, 3-1. They are fighting for every single map, every single inch. So the series by no means going to be easy, but Penn State, a good start.
Absolutely. Now, normally this would be the point where I'd be like, okay, you ready to go to King's Row? Because inevitably that's where we always go for hybrid. We go to King's Row. However, I was not expecting us to go to Ilios to start things out. So who knows? I might get a pleasant surprise as we get ready to head into round 2. I wouldn't mind seeing Eichenwald. I love Eichenwald. It's been a namesake since since Overwatch 1. It is definitely one of my more fun maps, because again, I feel like we get a little bit more of somewhat of a leveled experience. Again, I think it leaves it open for a lot more flying characters. Again, the chokeholds are super annoying, but at the same time, that's where you get your best content. That's where the best team fights happen, are at these choke points. And Eichenwald, I think, just would be a really fun map to see again. But that's just my perspective. That's what I would like to see, but you know, it remains to be seen. At the end of the day, it's up to the people on the sticks in the game.
Yeah, and obviously here you do get that advantage if you are BCU, where you get to select this next map. You get to kind of choose where we are going. King's Row is the classic. We've seen it a ton overall this season, but it's also one, like we said, where both teams, they're very trained on it. They've had 9 weeks of being able to play on King's Row, and they probably know their strategy set in stone. It's kind of like when you play against Faker, right? You got to bring out something new. Faker kind of knows all the regular matchups.
And you know what? I was looking at the picks and bans. You know, so far we only got the bans. You know, but I'm again just relaying the message in here. We got a ban on Hollywood, and we also got a ban on Blizzard World, which is interesting enough because again, Blizzard World is another one of those maps that I love because clearly I am basic and I love World of Warcraft. So Blizzard World is great for me. I absolutely love it. But I mean, I'm not a fortune teller, but I don't think anybody needed to be to know where we're going.
Yeah, we're putting the crowns on. We're going to King's Row once again, but this is such an important map, I feel like, for both sides, right? You talk about the two different trajectories we could go on when we're out of this map. Either it's a tied up 1-1, both teams get a chance in that map, 3-4, the series point, or Penn State could have 3 chances to close things out.
Well, let's see. I mean, again, let's say the worst were to happen for Briar and they go down this match, they still have push coming up, which they can, you know, try and turn things around. Now, this is interesting right here. We're looking at PSU Blue. QLM looks like they're hovering over the Cassidy. DMT going to be going to the Widowmaker. They're like switching roles here. Normally, like last match, it was DMT on the Genji, and it was QLM, you know, trying to rein in on with the Widowmaker. And QLM has been the sharpshooter all night long. They started out in game number 1 with Ashe, then they went to the Widowmaker, and now when Widowmaker might be the most prevalent character on the kickoff of King's Row, you know, you always go to the crow's nest, right? And then you bring the sniper shots. Now we're not, no Widowmaker, no Ashe. We got ourselves a Cassidy and we got a Tracer.
A little bit different spice of DPS for them. We'll see how QLM does handle the difference of objective, but Jodello already having to handle some damage is flanked from that staircase angle. DMT trying to dash on in and actually out to safety. Briarcliff are going to try and use that Ashe, that little bit longer range composition, utilizing the shield, playing off the big meatball in the Orisa to block off some of those bullets. However, for Penn State, they already have a little bit of percentage up on that control point, and the fight, their healing is really on point.
Yeah, you know, right now I'm actually liking what I'm seeing from Briarcliff because they're not allowing PSU Blue to really kind of like separate them and, you know, divide and conquer, pick them off one by one. You know, they're trying to stay, you know, so grouped together so that way they can support one another. But you can see already Jodello able to find an elimination, and that was off the thanks from Joven on that Ashe. Again, once they are able to get that first pick on the Brigitte, and the fact that it was on the backline support line, that means they have managed to hold off the push, because once you lose that Brigitte, once you lose your Tracer, I mean, you have no choice but to back off.
You also, like we said, you don't really have that secondary barrier. Your Brig is your one shield, and you also have that kind of frontline tank as well. Jodello is going to be on that Genji, trying to build up the blade. It's about 15% away. The dive from the D.Va handled really well here. Penn State just trying to walk their way on in, but it is not working. These kind of side angle fights are splitting them up. They did get 1 bar of that control objective. They do need to still utilize this spawn advantage, but Briarcliff have a matching 3 ults to theirs.
You know, it was funny because we were talking about, you know, QLM, you know, hitting the headshots, you know, doing a fantastic job on Ashe, but now it seems like it's just Juven. I mean, Juven right now is absolutely clicking on the Ashe, and as a matter of fact, they did last match as well. They put up some pretty good highlight plays, and you can see they're reining in the damage even now, and they are just holding the line, whether they're in the back, you know, playing backline, but you can see now they're pushing onto that chokehold, and they're still landing shots.
And the shots are connecting. They also burned out 2 of their opponent's ultimates, so still with 4 to play. The Terra Surge from above. Everybody's popping ultimates here. Rally, Blade, another rally on the other side, but the problem is the Blade found the back line. The back is broken here for the team fight, and Penn State will have to reset once again.
And they're running out of time too, just 1 minute and 20 remaining. And so far, PSU, they only got 1 tick off of the payload, so still 2 more to go. You do have the Deadeye that's about to come online, and then you have Bob. Everybody loves Bob, or everybody hates Bob. I mean, you gotta love it or hate him. You know? I mean, regardless, we are going to be seeing that ult exchange coming in probably very soon. As you can see now, that second push is coming from PSG Blue, as they are trying their best to unlock this payload.
They burned down Bob, but unfortunately it's going to cost them another team fight here. Briarcliff holding the line, sending a spear into the face of DMT, and QLM has the stop watch to tell us what time it possibly is here, but We'll have to see. Now look down. The Widowmaker trying to do some damage here as QLM just swap things up. The problem is, again, out of time, 30 seconds left to go. The Tracer Bomb is the only all you have. It is win from here on out, or possibly equalize the map.
Yeah, you see, this is, don't get me wrong, like, I do like the switch, but I think it might have been too little too late. And for the longevity of that, you know, instead of going with the Cassidy, who's, you know, more of a mid-range than, let's say, a sniper, like, I mean, you could say they're, you know, a very sniper character, sure, but, I mean, they're not a full-blown sniper, you know, they're not a Widowmaker, they're not even an Ash, for that matter. So, I mean, I feel like if you're gonna go for a little bit more of a long-range game, then go for a long-range game. We already know QLM can hit, so let them hit, you know, bring them in on one of those longer-range characters.
Jodella will fall. The long range is going to be there for now, and Big Pump won't be able to survive. AJMR, the Juno, that's a support, ladies and gentlemen. Triple kill for them. No reset on the overtime timer, and Briar Cliff have an easy job on the offensive side now.
Yeah, and you see, that is a huge win for Briar Cliff. I mean, absolutely huge, because like we said, you know, as far as push is concerned, it can really go either way just because of how different it is from, you know, from control, from hybrid. A push, again, it's like, it has its own madness about it. So again, I feel like any team can really pop off on push. But with that being said, like, getting a win here on Kings Row is going to be huge. And the fact that Briarcliff managed to hold PSU Blue to the first payload, like not even unlocking the payload, that is going to be insane. Now, unless PSU Blue can just do the same and just lock down, I mean, like you had even said, Briarcliff definitely has a much easier outing going into this second round.
You got to play pretty much perfect with those longer spawns away here from Penn State. It's possible. We've seen crazier. There will be no overtime guaranteed here on our second map. But Briarcliff, they have got the comp to run it down fast. Juven from the window. They've got the speed from the Lucio. And they've even got the BAP to provide a little bit more damage as well for the composition. So PSU, pretty much like we said, are going to have to play perfect and watch out for this Widow.
Yeah, I'm looking at this composition right now, and I'm thinking to myself, what year is it? I haven't seen this composition in so long, but my goodness, it's an oldie but goodie. Again, Lucio, to me, has been the longest standing support in Overwatch meta. I mean, they are absolutely fantastic in my opinion. As you can see, they're already going full dive into the back line.
I love that TP play. You know they're going to be playing upwards there. You deny him the vision with the Widow. You push forward and just drop every single turret in the back pocket. Sim is full charged up, ready to go, burning down the opposing health bars. They've got to get people back on the point, but they have pushed the opponents away. Briarcliff will lose one here, but are still just keeping them out of this archway. They need to get onto the point. Just the Tracer as all that sits between them and a win in this map.
Yeah, and not to mention, you know, you're looking at the side of Briarcliff, and you know they're losing eliminations, but those respawns are going to come in a lot quicker. And right now, QLM really just showing off here. I mean, being able to get 3 back-to-back elims. My question is that now that we're seeing QLM cook with the Ash, why didn't they try and do that on the offensive side? Like, don't get me wrong, the offense clearly different than the defense, but I just can't. And again, maybe I got smooth brain. Right? I got smooth brain Overwatch, just nonsense, filthy casual brain, right? But I just feel like, I mean, clearly they are good on the Ash, and you know, my theory is comfort picks over everything. So I just don't get why you didn't stick with that from the get-go. But oh well, here we are now.
Here we are. Big Pum's able to take down a tank, says I am the better shield holder for right on now. The important thing, Penn State actually didn't let Briarcliff, get towards that first marker on the objective. So no progression save. They're fighting in these doorways once again, and QLM has just been able to rip through these players. Bob is going to be popped. There's no escape. They try and get out with the teleport, and they just say, okay, we'll pop the sim wall. Full charge up as well to try and burn down this fight. Fighting off the point. The capture will finally be there, dropping every single turret they have. The contest at the last second here by the tank. The Tracer saves it for now. The contest holding for where they can, trying to get those spawn points back in, but it'll be a Briarcliff dub.
Yeah, and again, not too much of a surprise in the context. Like, again, I was thinking this is going to be a lot closer. Like, I really thought PSU Blue was going to be able to at least get the payload unlocked. However, once you saw that first round go and Briar managed to hold the line, then I was pretty much thinking, okay, well, you know, it's not a wash, it's not a done deal, but I mean, BCU, they just absolutely popped off here in Kings Row.
Felt good. We get to see this play of the game where Jodella was just able to rip through a bunch of players there in towards the backline. Disappeared for a second, but the magic of camera is back up and available for us. So we're tied up 1-1, a really big win from Briarcliff. And I think the biggest thing about it is Hybrid can be a very taxing and long mode. For them, that was a very quick response, a really good set of team fights for them, and now they're back on the right track.
Yes, and speaking of being on the right track, if I'm not mistaken, we are going to be going to push. I feel like that has been, you know, the formula here at the Unified Collegiate League. And with that being said, you know, I jinx it every time, but I'm sorry, I got to do it again. Just not Coliseum. Like, can we just admit that New Queen Street is the better push map? Like, why have I meant to suffer so much in Coliseum? I just, regardless, it is what it is. We're getting ready to play some push here in game 3.
It's gonna be fun. Push, as we always talk about, is usually one of the modes that also doesn't end very, very quickly. 10 minutes on that timer can be very snowbally one way or another at any part of the game. So you have to play very, very consistent all the way through and through. And I think if you are Penn State, responding towards that loss is going to be important, just like we saw BCU do in that map number 2. And I think sooner rather than later, you want to try and find your team fight, find what's working, because the winner of this next map is going to get 2 chances to go up to grand finals. There is, again, no more second life after this series for the loser.
Yeah, you know what? I got some good news and I got some bad news. Okay. The good news is that we're not going to Coliseum. The bad news is that New Queen Street was banned. Well, I don't know if that's really bad news for anyone else but me. Like, I love New Queen Street, but at least we're not going to Coliseum. So that's a dub in my book.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a New Queen Street enjoyer, though, too, so it makes me a little bit sad we don't get to go there. But, yeah, some spice. I mean, we talk about a little bit different map, but we start on Ilios. Okay, Kings Row, that's kind of been the norm for the entirety of the season. But we're going to Esperanza here. Another one of my personal favorites. I honestly like a lot of the push maps. But Coliseum, at least, we're going away from it. Something new here for the playoff.
Yeah, and again, this one is, if it wasn't a toss-up already, I feel like it's even more so now, because to be honest, like, normally from my experience, you know, commentating throughout the Unified Collegiate League and Overwatch, our past matches, the way they have gone is that whoever usually won control ended up winning Kings Row, ended up winning the hybrid map, which almost like 99% of the time has been Kings Row anyway. So I mean, it's interesting to see that, you know, we're going into pushing a 1-1 split. So yeah, even more so now than before, it's a little bit of a toss-up. And like I have mentioned in every other Unified Collegiate League caster that we have done so far, is that more often than not, that robot is not going to make it to the end. What's going to be the deciding factor is where the objective is and how much time is left on the clock.
Time's important here. It usually, like you said, goes towards that overtime fuse, and we get the fun fight at the end of it. One of these two teams moving on to series point. Who will it be? We get to see these compositions as a little bit of chat between the teams, as they're saying maybe a junk mirror, maybe trying to pull out some different battles between the two. It is going to be both Juven and QLM on the Ash.
You know what? I was expecting some more flyers. I'm gonna be honest with you. Now, and again, this is up for debate of whether or not people want to try and consider Juno a flyer. I personally don't, but I have heard the argument. That's all I'm saying. I don't consider Juno a flyer, but I have heard the argument. It is there. But regardless, when I'm thinking of flyers, I'm thinking of Echo, Mercy. I'm thinking Farah. You know, these are my flyers. Okay. But with that being said, I love Otter switching up over there to the Zarya. Zarya, throughout this season, has slowly tried to like creep their way back into the meta, and Zarya has been one of my favorite tanks from the get-go.
one of my favorite ones just because that kind of delicate balance where you have to hit the biggest charge so you can get that extra damage. The bubble, one of your key resources, you have to be very careful about that timing. So we'll see how well Otter knows how to play this hero. For both these two teams, Briarcliff is going to take the early robot control. That dynamite hit onto 4 players. The burn is nice, and Juven is already going to be taken down. AJMR barely survives the fight, but survive they did until the backline burst is there. That's a 70 charge Zarya, baby. They're doing something right.
Yep, that they are. Now you can see the robot moving in the favor of PSU Blue. And again, that was just a solid play right there. You saw QLM, you know, in the early game trying to like break up the, I guess, the line from BCU, and they managed to get it a little bit far forward. They managed to put some meters on the board, but it was really that divide and conquer type of gameplay. Again, QLM just getting in some of those cheeky shots, and they managed to take out the tank, which was huge for PSU. Now here we go, another team fight underway.
Another one, here we go. The shots are ringing in towards the bubble. That defense with the rapid fire. Otter has been able to keep themselves alive until, of course, I said something. Sorry about that one. Caster Curse striking untrue, but QLM able to strike back. 2 for 1 right now. Penn State trying to utilize that Ashes. They actually forced Juven to switch off towards a different hero, but neither team has actually gone super far. Penn State about 30 meters, but this is still 8 minutes left. Lots of time for both teams.
And then not to mention, you know, the switch to the Ramatra. Again, that is huge. And that has kind of been the Achilles heel for Zarya this season. Again, like this is where we have seen like the Ram Rush meta really come through. This is where, and I've even mentioned it before, you know, we're going to be seeing Ramatra before this is all done, right? And here we are, seeing them on push. But with that being said, again, Otter on the Zarya outperforming themselves as they manage to, you know, again, keep the robot moving. And it looks like they are going to get that first checkpoint. And that is going to be a tremendous start there for PSU.
That's huge. You get the forward spawn, whatever little bit of momentum you can get for yourself, you take. The response from Penn State after that loss, feeling very good. Those ultimates are starting to come into play. Benji's got one, AJ's got one, but the matching Juno ultimate is there on the other side. I actually love that speed ring. Kind of get your Ashe up and involved. You're able to move very quickly in towards the backline. The problem is, Juven already broke your own backline. Spooky Spanish on the Ramatras, taking down players, and the long range from Benji will clean up the fight.
Yeah, again, I try not to like react in real time because I don't like interrupting, you know, whoever else is on the desk with me, but my goodness, that was cheeky. Like Benji just raining down with the rally, and like I couldn't hold myself, I couldn't contain it. Like it just kind of eked out a little bit. I was like, ooh. like they just came down. Like when you think of somebody just like, you know, going straight for the back line, you don't think Brigitte more often than not. You think like it's a Genji going or a Tracer that's trying to go back line, but this Brigitte, I mean Benji, they just went all for it.
I love it. The aggression is something we love to see here, and honestly, love to see all those emotions that the lower bracket finals eliciting here down in UCL. Otter, though, I just love it. They've been able to keep their charge up to 80, so much damage, targeting down the tank, and then recollecting on the robot. Not necessarily caring that Briarcliff got this 36 meters, fighting off the robot, leaving 1 or 2 supports to kind of guide it, and then taking your fight very smartly.
Yeah, and again, I'm liking the tank matchup that we're seeing here. Again, I think the switch to Ramatra was the right call, but look, let's take a look at moment for the ult here. Ramatra is just about to get their ult, and then on the other side, you're looking for PSU Blue. They got 4 ults. They just popped the rally, and it is very likely we might see an ult dump coming around this corner.
Got 3 left. Bob is going to be popped, and it is a 1-for-1 already. Jadella's not going to have access towards that blade until the next fight. Spooky Spanish is up and available, but they're going to be taken on in right as well with the rest of their teammates. QLM, the headshot to take down their DPS counterpart. But here's the still 1v1. Ramatra pops the purple storm around him as the balls continue to fly out of this Otter weaponry. 80 meters is what's gained from Penn State, but nobody yet to win this fight until QLM steps up.
Yeah, right now, Spooky Spanish doing their best to hold the fort here on the payload, but they are finding themselves into a little bit of trouble here. Again, this Zarya matchup, definitely a difficult one because they have that extra range. They can zone in on the back line and keep them from healing Ramatra, and they can clean up the rest. What a play. PSU Blue, just perfect around the corner.
I saw Otter at the start of that fight with 100 charge, and I pretty much already knew how the story was going to end. Ultimate dump came in as you predicted from Penn State, so Briarcliff have the advantage this time around. Dash into the back line, Juven's on a double. The Bastion switch up just adds so much damage, and with the Dragon's Blade will rip through everybody else. A good backup fight from Briarcliff.
I mean, don't get me wrong, 100% correct, but to me, the damage has already been done. I mean, look how much progress they managed to gain. They're at 112 meters. Meanwhile, you're looking at Briarcliff, and they're at 36. And Jadello, for the most part, I think the reason that fight went to PSU Blue is because they managed to actually pick off Jadello earlier before they could pop the Dragon Blade. And then when they came in off the respawn, that's when they were able to, get the team kill and retake objectives. Now we're going into yet another team fight. Already 2 early elims in the favor of BCU.
You talk about dropping players early. Otter popped that bubble, but unfortunately their bubble was popped. The run forward from this Bastion, it can be so risky to give the Zarya that much charge, but being able to break things open feels great. The forward spawn is unlocked. Briarcliff, a lot more work to do in the next 3 minutes. And honestly, for Penn State, you could probably just build up a couple of these ultimates, wait for the correct team fight here in a few, and try to preserve your lead that you have.
You can see the Nemesis Storm coming out. Bob was called in as well, trying to hold off this Ramatra, but most of the damage had already been done. I mean, you're looking at 2 eliminations there on the Brigitte and then one on the Bastion as well. And now DMT gonna be the next on the chopping block here, this time for PSU Blue. Spooky Spanish managing to find one, but keep in mind, I mean, even still, that payload is ever moving forward and within meters of being able to equalize against PSU Blue.
Very, very close, and Otter decides we're playing switching watch, or whatever you want to call it. Back to the Ramatra, the mirror of the other side, and takes down Spooky Spanish before they can get the ultimate going. Like you said, very, very close. 30 meters is all that separates these two, and just 2 minutes left to go.
I get it. Like, I understand it. Like, and I was thinking, like, do we want to go Ram v Ram right here? Meanwhile, you do have the artillery that it was called in. And now Jadello able to find 2 thanks to the elimination feed. And now Juven being able to find with the assist onto Otter. And this is why I was questioning, like, is the Ram v Ram really the matchup that you want to take if you're PSU Blue? It seems to be that is the matchup that they want to take. I just don't know, if they're going to be able to match up against Spooky Spanish, who's been absolutely crushing it as Ramatra.
He's been playing nice, and honestly, the rest of the team behind him. Here's the double ultimate. Have got the orbital over the top, even though they're taking a little bit low. Still have the barrier coming up in just 1 second. So even the robot pushing, Rally's going to be popped. That's the only ultimate that Penn State have, and Jadello gets free backline access. QLM is the only one to be able to battle back, and the Bastion bullets will rip through them just as well. Briarcliff, team kill, and the takeover of the lead.
Yep, and this is what I was literally saying, that this is going to be a toss-up. Like, even when you think that PSU Blue has it in the bag, like, it is just not over. Meanwhile, DMT able to pop the Dragon Blade, but they get dealt with by their counterpart. I'm telling you, it's a skin diff. Do not sleep on the Illidan Storm Rage skin. My goodness, Jadello having themselves a game.
And it leads to another team kill. I mean, you shut down the ultimate. Already the artillery form is going to delay them for even longer. 30 seconds left. The dynamite is going to burn down some of the health bars. QLM might just have to carry. No Bob in the back pocket is going to lay down some bullets as well, but the robot protecting the long range. It's a team kill back for Penn State, but they need to save this Ramatra ultimate for the next fight, and they need to win it.
Yeah, and not only that, they're going to have to play flawless. Again, time is going to be out. They're going to be stuck in the OT fuse burner. This is going to be tough. Right now, it's going to come down to the ultimates, because right now it's going to be Jadello and Spooky Spanish going to be getting their ultimates before anyone else from the side of PSU Blue. Like, yes, you do have the Nemesis form, for Otter, and they have already popped it. They're going in, and they're going immediately after the back line, looking for the Vegeta, and everyone knows to run. GTFO, you do not want to be giving away free eliminations. You don't want to give away that free time having to come back from the respawn. And now you can see overtime fuse is now going down. This is almost too close to call.
Really is. I mean, 20 more meters is what they're gonna need. DMT, QLM are gonna combine for even more, and I like the idea from Briarcliff. They kind of just got caught behind enemy lines, away from the robot, and now it's the final charge, possibly the final fight. 2 ultimates on either side. The rally is up and available. They've got the orbital for the healing, the damage, and most importantly, Penn State have got the robot for cover.
Yeah, well, I gotta tell you right now, neither of those ults are gonna matter if you allow Jodello to go backline with the Dragon's Blade. If that Dragon's Blade comes out and they get those 2 limbs, it's gonna be a GG-RIP. Meanwhile, the rally does come out as well as the Orbital Ray, and we have the Dragon's Blade came out as well, but I think they were eliminated. They were! That is a huge limb to shut down the Dragon's Blade, and they shut down the Remy. Say it ain't so! PSU Blue steal the game away again.
The back and forth nature, Briarcliff, one heck of a fight there towards the end, and Jodello will still pick up the play of the game. Let's see it. It was right there towards that end, I believe, when maybe it was towards the beginning, but either way, it was lovely. Picks up that double kill, slides in for the triple, and we are going to have one out of our 2 teams on series point. Penn State trying to repeat history and win this matchup again.
Oh my goodness, that was tough. That was unbelievably tough. Again, it first looked as though like PSU, they're gonna take it, and all of a sudden BCU literally, what was it, like within 20 meters of hitting the final OBJ, hitting the final objective and taking the dub. And if they had just pushed a little bit further, that would have been it. There would have been no rebuttal coming from PSU. And then all of a sudden PSU, they take it with overtime. Again, time literally not on their side, and still managed to push it the full distance and literally just steal the dub away. And at the very end, it really did like it was going to go to Briarcliff because they had the Dragon's Blade. Jodello has been perfect on the back line. However, PSU, they understood the assignment. They had to shut down Jodello. That was the goal. That was the assignment. If they managed to do that, then they're golden. And that's exactly what they did. They had 2 support ults. They had the rally, they had the orbital array in their back pocket. And who has been taking out the back line more than anyone has been Jodello. Jodello had Dragon's Blade ready to go. They popped it and were instantly shut down. So again, just a phenomenal heads up play coming from the likes of PSU. My goodness, like that probably had to be one of the best push matches I've seen in the Unified Collegiate League.
It just goes to show you. I mean, push is one of those crazy modes where it doesn't matter who's on top. Those final fights always come down to decide it. But no matter how close these first 3 maps have been or how far away that second one was, it is down to a 2-1 scoreline. And like we said, you're in the lower bracket. This is the decidior of who is going back up towards the grand finals, who is going to be that second team. And Penn State has had a better finishes on the first and third map. The question is now, can they win one more? Because Briarcliff, like we said, they are making teams work for it.
Yeah, they are. And again, if I'm not mistaken, because, you know, you've seen the bracket, I've seen the bracket, there's been a lot of 3-0s, okay? It's not too often that we go to game 4, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be Flashpoint. And if it is, I'm concerned for Briarcliff, because the way that we saw PSU play on control to start things off was just too good. Again, you could definitely make corrections. There is a little bit of time in between game number 1 and game number 4 to make corrections, but if we are going to Flashpoint, which is just an increased pace of play of control, then you're gonna have your work cut out for you, at least in my opinion. But with that being said, I don't think we're gonna see as many snipers. So again, I wouldn't be too worried about the Ashe coming into play, you know, getting head clicked over and over and over again, like we literally have been seeing all day. So again, it's up in the air a little bit, but I would have to say if we are in fact going to Flashpoint, then like I think PSU might have the upper hand.
I I think they have a little bit of an upper hand, but also if I look back to like that second control point where Briarcliff was really good at starting the control points off, getting some of that early percentage. I mean, by the time that it would have been retakeable in Flashpoint, that point is already gone. So you have to be very, very quick about your fight. You have to be good about rotating as well. You have to know when, okay, if we're taking a fight on the point and the next point unlocks in 5 to 10 seconds, is it better for us to just go there, get it early, rather than maybe losing a team fight and possibly a whole flashpoint?
And this is where you see probably the biggest change in compositions. Again, when you're looking at matches like Hybrid and you're looking at Push, you know, you're definitely bringing out some more shieldy characters. You want people that can eat a little bit more damage. Again, you're trying to play for the long game because that's what Push and Hybrid are. That's the long game. However, when you're coming over to Flashpoint, things are going to be scrappier. It's going to be a lot faster pace. So you're going to be able to match that with a composition. You're going to need some very speedy characters. Again, wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Juno come back out because Juno is like the all hail meta right now. Again, you know, new character biases, I guess you can call it, the new character buff for Juno. But it does look like we are in fact going to New Junk City. And you see, this is where I would like to see some Junker Queen play. I remember like Junker Queen and Doomfist, they had their limelight in the meta and then it just kind of fizzled out a little bit. But again, I would like to see some Junker Queen in New Junk City. Home field advantage, not for real, but in my mind canon, it is.
I mean, and Junker Queen is one of those that doesn't take some time to ramp up. Isn't one of those tanks that requires a secondary thing to start to get them going and has a lot of 1v1 potential. So we'll have to see those compositions for Penn State. They are on series point. If they win right here, they are moving up to the grand finals. For Briarcliff, it is win this fourth map or unfortunately go home. But I know, Cap, we always love some more Overwatch. We wouldn't complain about a game 5.
A Mauga and a Reaper. Very interesting. I love the May pick. May is great. I love May. And again, the Moira coming out absolutely makes sense. But I was certain that the Mauga meta had died. I guess Mauga lives. Here we are. Game 4 of the lower finals. PSU, Briarcliff. Let's see how this one's going to turn out. Friendly reminder, PSU on match point.
Got a chance to go into that right here. QLM is back on a hero that didn't have super much success in the previous matches in the Cassidy, but we'll have to see if it does this time around. Flashpoint already going to be picked up halfway to Penn State. Juven is on this May, but won't be in the fight for long as the headshot connects the sharpshooter. QLM leading the squad with these backline takes. Penn State early take on the point.
And again, it's a lot more dangerous this time around. Normally, you know, we've even seen it earlier today in Control where, you know, Briarcliff managed to take the points early and then all of a sudden PSU come in with the rebuttal, right? But Flashpoint is completely different. So a lot of the time it's whoever gets there first is going to be the one who ends up taking it. However, the retake already underway here from Briarcliff.
You have to try and get those retakes very early. Like we talked about, you don't have as much time. It's already up to 50% for Penn State. It is going to be that Tracer. Such a fast ultimate. Gets the stick onto Benji, and QLM is having themselves a series. Big Bum is able to, well, not be a bum and get one down as well. 70%. This is a scenario, Cap, where if you are Briarcliff, you might just rotate to that next point.
Yeah, I mean, you literally got less than 20 seconds at this point. But with that being said, you can see Benji, they went ahead and switched over to the Lucio. Again, that's going to make your job as a healer like so much easier because you have that AoE healing. Again, it's just going to make everything a little bit more easy. But with that being said, none of it's going to be easy when you get hit with the Zarya ult. And now all of a sudden you are stuck in this corridor, all close quarters, and you are getting rained down upon. And not to mention, it's already too late. The flashpoint is gone. PSU took it already. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know. A last-ditch effort just didn't get there in time.
Yeah, I mean, it was the ultimate there from Zarya that pulled him away, and then they're like, yes, the point! And then the ice wall was a little bit misplaced there, so couldn't quite get access as they were trying to deny that team fight. Either way, it's just one flash point. It is first to 3 of those hills here to take the map point in its entirety. 4 ultimates capped, though, up and available for the Nifty Lions.
Yeah, not to mention DMT got that ult back again. Like, I feel like they just used it. The ult rate right now from DMT has been absolutely phenomenal. And now you can see the snowball does come out. I know it's the blizzard. I like the snowball because I think it's cuter. Regardless, they managed to call in the ult, and honestly didn't do them very good because you can see the elimination feed. It's all showing up red for PSU.
They're just fighting wherever they want. Otter's been able to keep up this charge on the Zarya. You talk about those ultimate combinations. Briarcliff really wanted to fight inside of that choke point, but Penn State just held them out, able to pop some of those longer range pieces of utility, and it's already tanked down. Spooky Spanish, I believe, tried to utilize their ultimate last time around. Looks like we've actually got a pause here right away, so we'll have to see what the issue is. Possibly a tech pause for one of these two teams. But the scenario right now is Penn State. They've got one of the flashpoints acquired already, and they're almost 50% towards the second one.
Yeah, it looks as though the Spooky Spanish is having a little bit of technical difficulty. Hopefully they can unplug, plug back in, and get themselves sorted. But with that being said, you can already see after that first flashpoint, you know, they made the switch from Mauga to Ramattra. Again, that is often a matchup that you're going to see as, you know, Remy trying to go up against the Zarya. We saw it come out on push, even though it didn't really go their way, because at the end, remember, once that Remy came out, they did force the switch from Zarya, you know, from Otter. Otter ended up going back to the Ramattra, and then we had a Ram v Ram scenario, right? So again, I understand why they switched to the Remy here, and it was like I was saying from the get-go. I was even like stroking my chin here. I was like, Mauga? Is that? I mean, is it? Are we bringing that back? But at the same time, at the end of the day, and this was something I was actually going to bring up in the first round. Like, who has the better hit scan here? Is it going to be Zarya or is it going to be Mauga?
I like the idea behind Mauga. I mean, he brings you a lot of damage, kind of hits my heart as a Bastion main, but at the same time, I mean, the barriers and especially Zarya with the bubble, just, it's the same thing against Bastion. If you don't kill the Zarya, well, you're probably killing your whole team because of how much damage you did towards that bubble. So hopefully we do get this tech pause, resolved as soon as possible. I think for Penn State as well, you can kind of take this as a timeout and talk as a team, say what you're doing correctly, and say, we've got this second flashpoint. We only need this second one and one more to take the series in its entirety.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, right now they're playing really, really well. They managed to take the first flashpoint. Clearly, you know, they are playing with their best foot forward here. I like the switch from QL1 again. They've been, you know, very head clicking. They've been playing the sniper role time and time again. And you know what? They're not deterring too far from it. Remember, we even said back on King's Row, you know, that seemed like a better match maybe for an answer for the Widowmaker. And you know, it didn't seem to line up for Cassidy. However, on Flashpoint New Junk City, this is the time. This is the place to bring out Cassidy.
Is really good at playing those closer angles, and guess what? It's the Graviton combination. Unfortunately, Jadella is able to get everybody back, so Penn State not quite the fight they wanted with all those ultimates, but they are up to 99%. Briarcliff get it at literally the last moment possible. Again, flashpoints go really, really quickly, so turning it around isn't the entirely biggest idea in the world, but for Penn State, you still got this ultimate here in QLM. DMT, we know their ultimate charge is very, very quick, so they're going to be able to get a couple more fights.
Honestly, I think they might have one more attempt at the retake at best, because by the time this next team fight is over, I don't know if they're going to have enough time to come in and try and do it again. So this is it right here. They managed to try and call in the Deadeye. Not going to do them any good. Take a look at this. Juven on the Cassidy manages to shut down the Deadeye. Comes in with the Deadeye of their own. Oh my goodness. I think they should be able to hold on to this. They are literally backing down the retake from PSU. As you can see, once again, Jadello finds himself with an elimination onto the Brigitte.
I love the switch as well from Jadello onto the Reaper. Even though we've seen them kind of on the Genji on some different things, the Reaper on these close angles on New Junk City, love that ability to teleport in and out, survive. And Juven, I mean, the 1v1, we've been talking about them versus QLM all day long. The Tracer, though, has a possibility to do some damage. Has to reset those dashes, but does have the Tracer Bomb that will deny some space. 99 to 99, overtime decides it.
And here we go. I mean, that Ramattra right now is so low. And beautiful backline push there coming from AJMR to try and protect the Remy and keep them alive, but they too will be eliminated. They can't hold on forever, and that is going to be a huge team kill coming from PSU as they will take the second Flashpoint now only 1 away from taking the lower finals and punching their ticket to Grands.
One flashpoint is all they need, and we are going back towards this more central location for these two. They'll cross paths, wave, smile, and get ready to fight for this next flashpoint. It unlocks in 15 seconds. 2 ultimates, 2 big ultimates here for Penn State up and available. If they could get this Graviton, I was gonna say, on in with all this charge, it's so much damage, but the speed on the other side, Jadello brings death to 3.
Again, it's why Reaper has such a solid fan base. 1, because the aesthetic, they are cool. I don't care who you are. Reaper is a cool character. Just from the cosmetic to their abilities, it is just so much fun to bring in the Death Blossom of Reaper, and that's essentially how it's done. Again, Jadello showing us all how to play Reaper right now. Now the question is it going to be enough? Already, you can see QLM about to answer back with their own ult. They are good for 1, but you got to keep in mind the Deadeye, if anything, is more of a deterrent. That's going to help clear sight, even though that now QLM has been eliminated. As you can see, that Nemesis Storm really reining in the damage as they manage to hold on to the site for Briar.
They keep the hold. They're up to 50%, and they even save 2 ultimates, baiting out that high noon. Juven still has their own to fight in towards that next fight. The question is going to be for PSU, where do you try to approach this one? You just try and build some ultimates up for the next flashpoint. You are up 2, so it's not the end of the world if you lose it. But Briar, a team that works so well off momentum, if you give them 1 flashpoint, they could be taking the whole entire map.
It very well could be, but look at the flank there with the Deadeye. And now you can see the eliminations are going the way of Briar. They are not done yet. They should be able to solidify this. But PSU, they do manage to take Flashpoint back into their possession. But, I mean, they literally just lost a team fight. I don't know. I mean, that should just about do it. And now we have ourselves a little bit of, I guess, a real game on our hands here. It is 2-1. Still, though, very dangerous for Briar.
They still have to play every flashpoint perfectly, but if they do, if they could find a way to win the next one and the one after, we could be going to a map number 5. Again, this was Penn State's selection, or excuse me, Briarcliff's selection after losing that 3rd map. So Penn State have that advantage as well, so it goes down to 5. A nice orbital combo. Everybody's in the gravity change, and Penn State wombo them for a team kill.
Which was interesting because if you see AGAMR from the side of Briarcliff, they also called in the orbital ray. So not only did they just get team wipes, unfortunate, but they also invested an entire ult into it as well. And now AJ is going to be switching back to that Moira.
Moira, the damage, the heal orbs, and the possibility within the Coalescence to do some damage. Checking in on the high noon. QLM is cut down before they can get the value. Spooky Spanish, ultimate pop, the purple rain around them will try and rip through the shielding, but a nice teleport out. Tello to safety and right into the face of the Zarya, who will be taken down in advance of the fisticuffs from Spooky Spanish. Penn State, they had the original hold on this flashpoint, and with the Tracer still alive, you have some denial time, but finally, BCU will get it back.
And you see, that's what makes DMT on the Tracer such a problem, and it's just Tracer in general, is that they're able to stall out so much time just by, tapping a toe onto the point, zipping out, coming back, doing it again, and you just stall for that time. And in Flashpoint, those little instances of stall time make a very big difference.
A lot of difference. It's a lot of time that BSU have already built on up and died from the other side. But you talk about Jadello, who is having one fantastic series for themselves. They're reduced to about half HP, trading blows back and forth. The Death Blossom, not 100% value, but it's enough. You combine it with the Coalescence on the other side, and all of a sudden, another pause up over everything. Looks like a disconnect there from Juven. Briarcliff dealing with some PC issues, unfortunately. The series just is playing against him, man.
I mean, what are you going to say? That's dorm Wi-Fi for you. I mean, that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. Again, this is the second time that we've seen Briarcliff have some technical issues, difficulties when it came to their ping, connectivity issues. Hopefully we can get Juven back in very, very quickly, so that way we can round about this game. Again, it is getting down to the nitty gritty. Again, we just saw a big team wipe here on this play. Even though the initial touch for that flashpoint did go the way of PSU, Briarcliff just came away with a phenomenal retake, and it's coming down to the wire. If PSU managed to get another retake, if they manage to take control of the flashpoint again and get a team kill in the process, I'm gonna call it GG.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think after that fight as well, they just popped the Coalescence. They got a pretty much full team wipe. The unfortunate thing is when you do reconnect, you start back at that lower ultimate percentage. So it might be a small thing that makes the difference here, but you got to fight your heart out. If you are a BCU, you have been throughout the course of this series. You talk about that map number 2, almost clean, immediate sweep to answer back from that map 1 loss. These are two teams, like we said, this is their third meeting here in the fall UCL season, and Penn State is trying to take the sweep of the matches in their own right to try and earn their spot in the grand finals. If you are Penn State, it's not the end of the world if you lose this map, but you'd love to get it over as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like we're seeing Otter, having a little bit of difficulty trying to match with this Remy, and it's kind of like what we saw in Push, right? Again, they were having a little bit of difficulty, so here you go, they switched to the Ramatra and Push. They're doing it now. This is what I was alluding to a little bit, and again, here we go. We're gonna have that Ramatra v Ramatra matchup, but this flashpoint looks like it may be too far gone. Only 5 ticks remaining. As you can see, PSU trying to make their way in. They managed to get a touch on the point. Here comes the sound barrier. It does come through, and we are in overtime again.
Otter got a double with the fist, so does make it the overtime fuse back to reset. 2 for 2, 3v3 is what we have left on the board, but the shotguns are still up and active from Jodello, who finds the teleport, finds the backline Juno, and we still keep the trades alive. The stick will go through. DMT just tripled up into a body bag. 3 players from Briarcliff go, and the fight is all Penn State.
If PSU win this, DMT MVP play of the game hands down. That play might have saved them the match, to be completely honest. That's if they can hold on to it. Keep in mind, there may be time, maybe be time for another try and retake this. It's gonna be definitely close. 2 ticks. And they do manage to get on the point. They managed to stall out for the overtime. And here we go. This might be the last team fight here in New York City.
ULM denies them space, puts the damage into Spooky Spanish, but it's already a double. DMT survive on a sliver of HP, but it's tanked down. Otter, the retake, the capture going back on through, and the point will switch back hands. Still on overtime here, but the Coalescence is burning through. The heals are just too nice, and although they have QLM, we're going to a final flashpoint.
Yep, here we go. This is it. I mean, this PSU, if they win this next one, they take it all. But if Briarcliff wins it, that means we're going to a game 5. And my goodness, a Moira now surfacing, coming out for the side of Briarcliff. And this could be huge because, again, in Flashpoint, you're constantly dropping back, trying to get those med packs. And if they're hacked, you're going to be, SOL for the most part. But here we go. Final Flashpoint now underway.
It's a big one. It's either going to map number 5 or if Penn State wins the reverse sweep inside the flashpoint. The momentum that BCU could gain from it all would be massive, but QLM already takes down Spooky Spanish, so that denial is there. Jadella's on a double. These scrappy team fights do not stop. The shotguns keep raining from above as the sound barrier keeps the health bars good. Briarcliff the first to take the point.
Yeah, and that was honestly just a phenomenal play there coming from Jodello. Again, Jodello was doing phenomenal in the Genji. Unfortunately, they didn't get to win that game, but still, they have been a real big difference maker for Briarcliff. And now on this Reaper, they are, much like we saw DMT really making these game-changing plays, I feel like Jodello is doing the same thing for Briarcliff.
Feels like the DPSs of both sides have been the narrative tellers of this story so far. Penn State, though, a good battle back team fight for them. They recover this flashpoint. Juven decides, okay, we're switching back. We're going for the Cassidy one-on-one. And Jodello, how about the switch back to Genji? If they could build up a Dragon's Blade, well, we saw what happened last time.
And I see this is a tough decision to me because I felt like they were doing really good on the Reaper. However, I am one to trust the process. Trust Jadello. They know what they're doing. I think they are going to make this one pretty close. So with that being said, you see the next team fight about to be underway. And they're going to be pushing that Ramattra, and you see Yellow already having to push back even further still to try and avoid Jadello, as Jadello already manages to get an elimination onto QLM. And now the eliminations are all falling in the favor of Briarcliff.
There's just no more damage. You have a Ramattra, you have a Lucio. There is nothing left here for Penn State, but they're going to try and deny for as much time as possible. As close could be here on our final flashpoint. Briarcliff are back in control. That Coalescence, ironically enough, has swung a lot of team fights. The damage, the healing, everything it can provide. And with DMT down for another couple seconds, that could actually be the flashpoint win.
Yeah, but hold the phone though. You see DMT, they do have their ult. Not to mention you have the sound barrier as well. That sound barrier will keep the team alive, even in this tight corridor, long enough for DMT to come through with the Tracer ult. And if they manage to hit the Tracer ult like they did last time, it's going to be devastating. However, here comes the Coalescence coming out as well, as it looks like the Annihilation has come out as well. And now the sound barrier has forced them to pop. QLM has to hit the Deadeye. They do get eliminated, and that should be the game. BCU manages to force a game 5.
They just fight off the point. They say, we're not even going to allow you access. Let's see the play of the game. DMT definitely got robbed, but Honor will pick it up here. The Graviton that was able to get in everybody. That was just a really picturesque moment as the orbital from both teams was able to layer over the top. But man, I mean, talk about Briarcliff responding after losing each of these maps. Cap, we've only got one map left to decide who's going up to Grand.
And no matter who wins, you know, at the end of the day, once you get to that game 5, I think it's fair to say that both teams are evenly matched despite who ends up taking it in game 5. But there's one thing that I just need to point out. In the upper finals, Briarcliff lost to PSU 3-0. Now they come back in the lower finals and force a game 5. Literally massive improvement in such a short span between the lower finals, or rather to the lower semis into the lower finals. Again, that massive amount of improvement in such a short amount of time is impressive, no matter which way you cut it.
100% is. And you talk about from both these two teams, I mean, even though Penn State dropping these two maps, they look like a lot better of a team here, more cohesive with a lot of those longer range DPS plays. So both of these teams definitely earned their spot here in the lower bracket finals. And now all it comes down to is one final map. Now, even though Penn State did lose that fourth one, they will get the ultimate advantage here. The final map selection. And because we haven't gone to, I don't think, any game number 5s or map number 5s throughout the course of the season, this is a chance to surprise your opponents with something they haven't seen.
Now, see, I wanted to say it. I wanted to say, you know what? I think this is the first game 5 we've had in the Unified Collegiate League. But like at the same time, I'm thinking back, did we though? I don't recall. So now I don't even know what game mode we're going to. More often than not, you go back to control. That's where you go back to in game 5. And that's my experience with a whole bunch of other different like Overwatch leagues, Overwatch Collegiate leagues, etc., etc. It usually ends where it began, or sometimes they'll even put push at the very beginning. Again, there's a lot of different leagues. They all run it a different way. But when it comes to game 5, I would like to think that it ends on control. Could be mistaken, could be wrong. But like you had just mentioned, this is our first time here at UCL, Unified Collegiate League, and we're in a game 5, and it's in the lower finals.
I mean, what a better place to have it. I mean, elimination on the line, a spot in the grand finals up on the line as well. So for both of these two schools, an amazing opportunity here. A late night game under the lights of UCL, and we all get to go decided by our final map, Circuit Royale.
Well, here we go. I mean, it's I don't want to be cliche and say that it all comes down to this, but it literally does. Like, it really does. One team's going to be going on to face the Grands. Keep in mind, PSU, they lost. They lost to, again, the team that's currently in the Grands that managed to take them 3-0, as a matter of fact, BSC. They're the ones that sent PSU into the lower bracket. So I know they are really going to want some revenge on them. However, this is Briarcliff's revenge game on PSU. So again, a lot on the line for both of these teams.
Revenge is there, an opportunity to write your own story, and a chance to maybe get some in-person matches in as well. I mean, the LAN final is going to be absolutely beautiful, and that's another good reminder. Make sure you guys are following here. Don't want to miss those, even though the action tonight here is, well, action-packed. One final map, Cap. I can't hold my excitement in.
No, I'm trying my best to actually. Like, I know on the outside it seems like a little bit cool, calm, and collective, but trust me, once the plays start happening, then it's all going to come out. The excitement and all of the pent up, just energy that I've had from that last game to now. I mean, again, I thought I had capped with the push game that, again, was the best game of push I've seen at the UCL. Like, I'm thinking it's gonna go PSU, then it goes Briarcliff, and then at the very last second, PSU pulls it out. Same thing that we just saw in New Jug City. Again, PSU, they take an early 2-0 lead, and then they get reverse swept. If we're looking in the context of Flashpoint, it was a reverse sweep. You're looking at an early 2-0 lead in favor of PSU. They are 1 point away, and then like you said, they had to play perfect. Briarcliff played perfect from that point on, managed to taking the next 3. So it can really go either way in Game 5. There's no way you could make a valid prediction at this point.
It's a toss-up. That's what it feels like to me. And honestly, we go back to some of those DPS duels. It feels like Juven, Jodello, every single one of those 4 DPS players have stepped up at times from either sides. And I think the selections are going to be important. Circuit Royale, you could dabble in something like a Cassidy or an Ashe. We'll have to see what the decision is from Jodello, that has played a Reaper really well, that has played the Genji really well. And honestly, those tank matchups are going to be super fun as well. So there's so many different picks that can go through your mind, but you also don't want to get caught into the hole of, okay, maybe they picked this last time, we want to counter pick, we want to try and outsmart them. Right now, you talk about comfortability. I think this is where you have to go back to it.
Yeah, 100%. But at the same time, though, that's what I was thinking about the last match on Flashpoint. I'm thinking, you know what? The last time that we saw these two teams go head-to-head, Ramatra v. Ramatra, Rami versus Rami, I'm thinking, okay, PSU should have this. They won last time with the Rami mirror matchup, and they didn't. So I don't know. Maybe they do have to try something new, or maybe they should have just stuck to the Zarya. There's so many variables to try and consider to say what they should do, what they shouldn't do. And this is how you know you have an evenly matched team, because you literally cannot slice what the difference maker is. You can't point out, oh, well, if this team did this differently or that team did that differently, it doesn't matter, because they are evenly matched. It's all going to come down to the overall, it's the consistency, yes, because we're playing a very long-winded game. Again, this is Game 5. Yeah. We've gone the distance, so you can imagine that the stamina is beginning to deplete. The mental fortitude is starting to decrease again, and this is what separates, a lot of the champions from the runners-up. This separates the best from the better, right? Is who, at the end of the day, out of all of this long gameplay, who is going to go sick on the sticks and who is going numb in the thumbs.
That is very, very true. And fortitude for all these teams going to be important, not only like we talk about for today, but that playoff action all week long. Got to see who can step up. It was Dorado, it was Shambali banned away, and now it is time. Circuit Royale, the finale for these two teams. Who is going up to grand finals and who is going home?
Yeah, again, this at the end of the day, no matter who wins, I just want to reiterate that both of these teams are evenly matched. I don't care what the outcome of this game is. You cannot convince me that these two teams are not equals in every aspect, shape, or form, because every single time when we thought Briarcliff was done and dusted, they answered the call and they had the biggest rebuttal. And take a look at this going into this next matchup, and we have Sigma v Sigma. And nearly a mirror matchup. The only difference is the BAP on Gillo, who's now going to be switching back to the Juno. But yeah, no, okay, never mind. Now we got Juno Zenyatta. I told you I've been seeing that composition more and more.
Well, in the back of your brain it was, and they pop it out here on towards the field. For these two teams, it's important. This is a payload, no hybrid type mode. It is just the back half of the hybrid. Both teams will get a chance on offense. Both teams will get a chance on defense. And what better way to have the DPS duel, Juven QLM, both on the Widow.
And again, this is going to be tough because, again, we have seen both of these players absolutely pop off. QLM going to be taking down the counterpart early with a beautiful jump shot. And that's how you kick off a game right there. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. That is how you get the ball rolling.
Asserting your dominance. A 1v1 to start things through, and then as well for Briarcliff, they also lost a really potent healing source from that backline. Benji and the rest of the crew have to back their way on up. The Widow shots continue to rain down from above, and that barrier so well placed. QLM does not miss. Briarcliff this time around are just having to back their way up, and what a response here from Penn State after getting reverse swept on that flashpoint. They're already to the first checkpoint here on Circle Royale.
Let them cook. just let QLM cook. I mean, my goodness. Again, I was literally having to hold in the outbursts on those last couple of shots. QLM coming into game 5 locked in as they continue to pick off player by player of Briarcliff. They're so far ahead of the payload, and they are still just raining in shots. Finally, they do get eliminated. Jadello has had enough. That has just been too much damage coming from QLM. They had to be stopped, and now Jadello looking to return the favor as they go straight for the back line.
Oh, lovely stuff on this Genji. The backline under threat. They lose a few. And with pushing that payload over that first checkpoint, it will be an advanced spawn rate here for Penn State. They'll get that little bit of further placement so they can attack easier. However, again, QLM, this 1v1 duel does not stop going their way. They've got the infrared vision to see through every single one of these walls, continue to pop the shots and put some pressure onto Chodella. 5v3, orbital laser is nice, but PSU are just madmen. They just walk through it to the backline and win the fight.
I'll be honest, if they can continue to shut down Jadello like they have been, then this might be a PSU dub. And you know what? Again, I'm making this like a little bit of a broad stroke, kind of like very early into the matchup, but Jadello has been that big difference maker for the side of Briarcliff. And if they manage to shut that down, then I don't know how they're going to recover. Again, that's what we have been seeing so far. And so far, PSU have been making some phenomenal time making their way up to that second checkpoint.
They're close. Over 2/3 of the way there. The Dragon's Blade is going to be popped from DMT, but it don't matter. Jadello's got one of their own. How about a double? Both of the DPS on the other side are shut completely down. Both AJ and Gulyo tried to pop their ultimate, but it is a full team wipe, a 5-player kill streak here for Briarcliff.
And there we go. That's what we were talking about. Again, if Jadello gets on a roll, then you know we're going to have a pretty good matchup. We're going to see a pretty even fight. And we got to see the Dragon's Blade come out, fully capitalized. Like you said, they went straight for the back line. They managed to, again, just absolutely annihilate them in their back line, their support and QLM respectively. And they finally put a stop to this payload because, honestly, since PSU has come out to spawn, I think this is the first time the payload actually came to a complete stop.
Honestly, they were moving it straight from the beginning, so good to see some of that work back, the counter team fight. However, lots more team fights to be had. The speed boost going to be utilized here from the Briarcliff players to escape back to safety. The good news for Penn State, though, they've recovered this payload that was a little bit out of their reach. If they could win this next team fight, it would set themselves up for so much success pushing towards the end. And QLM has got the headshot to take down one. Juven battles back, but it might be just too little too late. The rock to send Benji back to the grave, and Penn State will recover their second checkpoint.
And you see, this is why I question the Zenyatta most times. Like, don't get me wrong, I've seen this kind of, coming through more and more again with, you have Zen and you have Juno. But Zen is just sniper fodder. Like, if you're seeing Widowmakers on the other side, maybe you shouldn't go Zen. Again, it's literally just, and because Zenyatta moves so slow as well, because Zen moves so slow, that it's just, again, it's sniper fodder. And when you have people like Juven and people like QLM who can just hit these shots on a dime, I don't know, you're going to have to be able to avoid that.
Well, both snipers have been able to find the heads no matter what. It's going to be 3 ultimates up and available for Penn State. They popped the barrier from the Sigma before anything else. Very even composition, exactly mirrored right now, but in terms of ultimates, it's a double from Penn State. Back to the sky they go, have to pop that immortality field. AJ using the transcendence to try and transcend the team towards victory, but it's already denied. This Briarcliff squad just not giving an inch, holding this payload. Still 2 minutes and 30 seconds to hold on.
I mean, yeah, I don't think we're gonna be here for 2 hours. Don't get me wrong, we've been here pretty long already. This is the game 5 of UCL. This is the game 5 of UCL. So, you know, we're going the distance here, and like you had mentioned, time running down. But with that being said, they only have one more turn to go. If they can make it past this one more turn, they got a lot of time to work with here. As you can see, the Transcendence does come back out again, as the Dragon Blade also comes back out, and down goes the back line for PSU.
Dude, that was just a bloodbath. Both Dragon Blades pick up 2. The following, both of them pick up 1. And that unfortunately does mean for Briarcliff they have to reset. Don't want to overextend, especially as the defensive squad. Don't want to funnel in one by one. No ultimates available, but, you know, no QLM available for this fight either.
I gotta tell you, I'm loving the sniper battle between Jordan and QLM. Like, this is content I would watch on YouTube, but let me get, like, settle it on Rust. Let's go to 1v1s, let's settle the sniper beef, and let's settle it once and for all, because it has been a back and forth for them. And now finally, QLM deciding to switch up and go towards the Cassidy. And again, not my favorite pick. I didn't like it before when they were on Flashpoint. However, now that we're just straight up on Escort, I think maybe the Ash would have been a little bit better, but at the end of the day, QLM knows how they play. And if this is the pick that they're comfortable with, then this is the one they need to be on.
The comfortability is so important here late with only about 60 seconds left to go. The melody gonna be changed, and Otter, it's not the note they wanted to play. Spooky Spanish is able to bring in the Halloween music through towards their name and able to take down 2. Briarcliff don't want to overextend here with still a team fight left to go for Penn State, but this head peek is just so crazy, especially now with Juven with the infrared sight.
Yeah, good luck here. As you can see now, the push is coming through from Otter. And my goodness, Juven with the turn onto DMT. What is this? Is this still Overwatch? Juven is playing like on an absolute another level right now. My goodness. Also, Spooky Spanish. Got to give up to Spooky Spanish. They literally got their ult back to back in quick succession. And I think that should about do it right there. Briarcliff, even though they did, you know, they had to drop the line so far back so many amount of times, but they are holding on right now. This is where they are holding the line.
Not letting any space go forward for Penn State. This is their final fight that they need to win. AJMR, their ultimate does expire. The Tracer Bomb just does not connect, and Big Bum with the orbital over the top will be able to keep the healing going. Still a 5v5 as the Widows will duel once again. The Sigma Barrier better placed here as Jadello, same story, different map, gets into the back line, takes down 1, even though AJ falls. Otter not long for the world. Melody gonna be changed once again as Spooky Spanish hits the headshot, and Briarcliff don't let Penn State quite get to the end.
No, they do not, but still they got pretty far. You keep in mind, the last time that they were even playing an escort type game mode, it was on hybrid, and they couldn't even get the payload moving. So, I mean, if you're comparing, you know, I guess, you know, apples to oranges here, this is a much better look for PSU. But with that being said, you know, Briarcliff has yet to get their shot. So who knows? I mean, they could come in and they could go all 3. So again, this is just going to be so tough. I literally cannot think on who has the advantage going into this next round. Again, we have seen the Sigma v Sigma, and you know, I think for the sake of just for the sake of offense, I feel like Ramacho would have been the better matchup to go against Sigma. That's just my opinion. As smooth brain, filthy casual as it is. However, never mind. I was gonna say I like the Ana pick. Let's go Ana, but no, we're again just gonna feed into the sniper fodder that has been Juven and QLM respectively. I mean, both of them are hitting their shots, but you know, we ball here in Overwatch too.
They absolutely will. And for AJ and Guyo, it's going to be important to stay alive more than anything. We're not going to have those same tanks, but they are similar in terms of the barrier. For Briar, this is your opportunity to change everything. We will not have overtime. It is either Briar get the push that they want, or Penn State are able to play a successful defense. A spot in the grand finals on the line. Let's do it.
Well, let's see. I mean, already QLM trying to pull off that cheeky headshot that they actually pulled off when they were on the offense. Not going to work this time. Juven, though, able to land some shots here. Not enough to confirm the elimination, but that Ramatra does come out. That's huge. I did not think they were going to bring out the Remy on defense. Otter, however, they decided to make the switch, and I'm interested to see on how this plays out. So far, not so good. Otter already eliminated.
They're going to fall. That's the tank. That's a long-range spawn that they have to work back towards, and QLM just staying in the danger zone. A mad lad there for sure. Did have the speed boost, but the speed boost utilized on the other side. The bouncing projectiles here as Jadello works their way slowly up the hill. Just like Penn State, Briarcliff wastes no time to get this first checkpoint.
Yeah, and now Otter going to be breaking out the Winston. Not a bad selection, definitely not the worst. At that same time, I think we've seen the results speak for themselves, right? DMT and Otter eliminated. I mean, if anything, clearly Otter is trying to find different answers here. You know, they're switching up tanks. They switch to the Ramatra to start things off instead of going for the Sigma v Sigma matchup. Then they switch to the Winston. Honestly, I would like to see how Zarya pans out in this particular instance. If they're not going to stick to the Ramatra and try and just throw hands with Sigma, then I would say go Zarya. But you know that we'll see how it works. Again, still plenty of time here in this second half of Escort.
4 minutes and some change. DMT, Goyo able to pick things up, but because Briarcliff was able to get towards that first checkpoint, it's just really easy for them to get these spawns on in right by the hill to push themselves back on up. This is one of the better Widow positions that you can utilize looking down the hill. You can also utilize the spot at the top of the hill, and it's kind of not giving Juven all the angles that they would have wanted. It's going to be the infrared sight, but they're going to see a Dragon Blade diving straight towards them.
And I'm not sure it looked like they were deterred somewhat. I don't know if it was the Winston shield that, you know, kind of absorbed maybe that first slash. Again, it happened rather quickly, but it's not often where you see Jadello only held to one limb on the Dragon Blade. Normally they picked up like at least 2, if not 3.
Every time. Able to find so many opportunities, and it will be Otter popping that primal range. Starts out the fight. QLM, DMT, they're the ones that are able to finish it. Team kill will come through, and this is one of those awkward positions if you are Briarcliff that you got to push up the hill without that extra coverage of the payload. You got to try and play your best team fight. Sure, you've got a ton of time, but this is one of the places that can actually burn down your clock pretty easily unless you just hit the perfect soldiering grenade, push them back, and burn all those ultimates to take the space.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is exactly where we saw Briarcliff kind of shut down PSU in that previous round. It was right here up the ramp, but this time, Briarcliff wastes no time being able to come through with the retake, and now they do not have much further to go to try and take this dub. However, you got to keep in mind, PSU, their spawn is literally right next to that finishing point as the Transcendence now comes off.
Unlock the ultimate to keep everybody alive. They've got the orbital over the top, just 3 meters away, trying to contest, but this might give Briarcliff a little bit more meterage than Penn State would have wanted. Spooky Spanish is taken low, but with that black hole was able to stall for so much time. 0.83 is the meters away from this checkpoint, but Penn State try and deny it. Jadello fighting their hardest, but Juven will have to escape, and Briarcliff will have to wait to the next fight.
How? What? Like 0.75? Like we're underneath 1 meter and somehow PSU managed to keep like a pinky toe on the payload to keep it from going. That's rage inducing. I'm sorry, like this is the point where I'm like losing it. Like if in my rank games, I'm like, you've got to be kidding. So right now I can imagine Briarcliff definitely not happy right now, but here they come once again for the retake, and they at least have 2 ultimates backing them up.
got two ultimates. They're gonna pop him immediately as well. Jodello is gonna save that Dragon's Blade for another fight. Spooky Spanish was anti-nated and taken super low. QLM, Big Bum. We talk about the damage that the Juno can provide. It's a double back the other way, and Otter has dove into the backline, and almost there it is. Assist on the final, a double kill, and pushing the payload further back. Briar Clifford down to 90 seconds.
And you know what's something that I'm just now noticing, and I don't know how I missed it, but Gillo on the Ana, that switch is huge. And again, I didn't even notice it until they hit the sleep dart on the Sigma. They shut down the Sigma. That, I think, was like one of the biggest turnarounds. And not only that, but they have the anti-nade as well. And here comes the orbital ray coming out from Big Bum. And now look at Kiriko in the mix. I don't know how long they've been in there. I must have missed that too, because now you have the Kitsune rush going onto the payload. It doesn't do them any good, and now it looks as though Briarcliff is in somewhat of a panic. They are trying to find the answer. They're trying to find the right formula, because with this comp right now that we're seeing from the Winston, the Ana, the whole package from PSU Blue has shut down Briarcliff within less of a meter of getting to that second checkpoint.
They were so close, and they could still grab some extra time here, but especially the Ana just utilizing that little bit of longer range, hitting the sleeves, hitting the antis, everything working their way. They will pop the nano, combine it with the blade to try and burn things down, but Jodello, the heroic performance, starts things out. Spooky Spanish is still alive. ULM is going to tell us the time in case we forgot, taking down Spooky Spanish as well. 7 seconds left to go, and Penn State might have just done it. QLM steps to the forefront, emotes on them all as Penn State wins in 5.
That was probably the best Deadeye that I've seen all night, frankly, because again, we have literally seen QLM try and do the Deadeye all night long, try to go with the high noon, and everybody avoids it, but this was perfect because they had nowhere to go. They tried to hide around the corner, but then QLM manages to hit it and is good for one, good on the tank, which was the most important one to get rid of if you're trying to keep them from, again, just getting like a 1 more meter over towards the checkpoint. When I've seen so many Deadeye misses throughout the night, like, and again, we've seen a lot of Deadeye misses throughout the night. When it finally hits, it's at literally the most perfect time for PSU. So again, just phenomenal gameplay, 100%. The game winner, again, in my opinion, maybe play of the game, but at the same time, you got to give Jodello their roses. I mean, they literally have come in clutch more times than I think anyone can count within that series. So again, GG's to everybody, and thank both teams for making this such a good lower finals to watch.
We went to all 5. It was a surefire battle, but for Penn State, they are moving up towards those grand finals, able to play for the title. For PCU, again, just so much props towards the squad, the improvement that they've showed, bringing us towards it felt like the max distance on every single map, and their team fights just looking better and better. I hope we get to see this team back into spring and playing, improving, and working even more. And I'm just excited for the rest of the week as well, Cap. Even though the excitement is done here for tonight, we've got a whole week of playoffs still here at UCL.
Oh, that we do. Just a friendly reminder, of course, tonight was Overwatch 2. Tomorrow, I'll be seeing y'all there. Is going to be a little bit of carball going down for some Rocket League. And then Wednesday, we got League of Legends. Thursday, it's Valorant. And then Friday, it's Super Smash Brothers Ball. But I got to say, here for Overwatch 2, I think we set the bar pretty high for how good the quality of games are going to be for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I mean, the games were good quality. Everything was really, really good here so far on Monday, and I know it's going to be for the rest of those matches. So another gentle reminder, in case you are not already following, make sure to hit the follow button here on Unified Live. Can tune in every single time that we go live and catch all of this collegiate action. Unfortunately, I do have to go, but I believe, Cap, we're going to get set up for an interview.
Yeah, I think it might actually be one of my first one-on-one interviews. I mean, not my first ever, but maybe the first here for UCL. But with that being said, again, it's been an absolute pleasure being able to share the desk with you, as always, Llama, the lovable Llama. And again, it's just been an absolute blast tonight.
Well, it's been lots of fun here, like I said. It was amazing commentating all the action. Appreciate all you out in the crowd, everybody working so hard back there. We are going to go to just a short little break before we get that interview set up. Thank you so much for watching that Best of 5 series. We'll be right back.
Well, hello, welcome back to the Unified Collegiate League. We just got to see, without a doubt, in my opinion, the best Overwatch matchup that we have seen all season long here at the Unified Collegiate League. It did not disappoint. I have the pleasure of introducing a very special guest. It is none other than Gillo, one of the main support cores coming from PSU. Gillo, I got to ask you just to start things off, how does it feel to come away with not just such an amazing win in the lower finals, but such a close win?
Honestly, it just feels good to be out of the match and, scotch free, right, with a win. That's all I'm thinking about right now. Because I can go to bed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you get to breathe a little bit now. I'm not gonna lie,
Yes.
I was choked up a little bit. Like I was nervous for you. Like my goodness. But one thing I want to talk to you about. I mean, you guys clearly started off strong on control. Okay, you came in on control, and again, it was looking a little one-sided. And then all of a sudden, we get to King's Row, and you guys got absolutely halted at that first checkpoint. I gotta ask, what do you think was the problem there?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to overstate the way we got held. But the problem was, I think, just a disagreement of how to actually run the comp, run the map, and that's what Obviously, Penn State's a big school. We don't have not everyone has a lot of time to be scrimming. We don't really even scrim, but just a disagreement on how best to run the map, just because we don't play together that much. I think that was the main problem.
Yeah. And one thing I want to bring up too is push. Again, push. Complete turnaround. Absolutely close map. You guys were taking it for the majority of that map, and you almost took the entire dub. And then Briar answered back, and then you literally stopped them within meters of finishing the game, and you managed to run it all the way back in OT. Ice in the veins. How do you guys keep cool, calm, and collected when the pressure is on like?
Well, I'll tell you for certain, we definitely did not keep cool, calm, collected. There was definitely some panic going on, but I think it just speaks to the kinds of players that we are. I think just our mechanical ability is really high. Just we can overcome the fact that we were definitely panicking after being up so much and then going down almost to the end, and then eventually winning. I think that speaks to a lot about our mechanical abilities.
Yeah, and you know what? I also want to talk about the where you go to school at. At PSU. I need to know, like, is there like a facility there? What's the coaching staff like? What type of support do you have at that university? Like,
Yeah.
how is the esports program, and how does it feel being a part of it?
Well, so to answer your first question, there's actually not a lot of scholastic support for the club, but we do have an esports center that is just opened on campus that is entirely detached from the club, but we're open to use their computers. We often opt not to, but it is still nice to have, so we can get together in person and play some matches together. We do pugs every so often. That's fun. And then, sorry, what was the second part of your question again?
No, I was just saying, how does it feel to be,
Oh,
a part of the Collegiate Esports Club? Because old heads like me, we didn't have this in high school and college.
yeah,
We never had the opportunity to be a part of a esports program. The term esports hadn't even come up yet. So, like, how does it feel,
right.
being able to play for your school, doing something that you love to do?
Well, first off, you don't look a day over 21. I'll tell you that much. But
Oh, go on.
but it's really cool. I think Penn State's one of those schools that a lot of people know for their football and just their athletics in general. And esports is kind of merging themselves into an athletic department in a lot of different places. But for me, Penn State, I grew up in the Philadelphia area. I was a fan of Penn State my entire life, and that was before I was even an Overwatch player. So being able to go to my dream school and play Overwatch with a group of guys that all have the same interest in me is really fun.
I can imagine. Now we talked about this in the break a little bit, and I have to bring it up again. I've said it throughout the broadcast. I've said it throughout the season. Ana is my favorite hero in Overwatch. I love Ana, and we saw earlier that you guys tried to bring out the Ana a little bit earlier. It didn't work. Okay, there was a problem. It got shut down. And then we got to see Ana literally at the very end of the final match. You brought out the Ana, and the first thing I saw was that you hit the sleep dart on Sigma and shut them down, and that was the turnaround. That's when you held that final line. I need to ask, what was going through your mind to make the switch to Ana, and then how did that inevitably cause that kind of chain reaction of you solidifying the win?
Right. So we started the map on Ramatra, and we felt that that was a good look for us. But after a little bit, we realized that Zen wasn't enough healing to sustain the Ramatra. So I was planning on switching to Ana since like the second fight, but I had Trank, so I used Trank, and then I had to go to Lucio to touch the point at the last second on the second point. And after that, I figured, okay, what's good? Like we're on Monkey at that point, we're off Ram. I figure I could stay Lucio and we could go really aggressive, or I can go Ana and we can play for really big nades. And I figured that Ana was the best way to help my team, because I'm nowhere near the most mechanically skilled player on my team. I figured instead of playing Lucio, a hero that I don't really play that much, I just play Ana, play hero I'm more comfortable with, and hope my team can pick up my ability usage.
That's another thing that you will hear me say on every broadcast: comfort picks over everything. Comfort picks
100%.
over everything. Absolutely agree with you. And again, phenomenal performance. But before I let you go, I'm gonna give you a moment. Any type of recognition you would like to make to anyone out there, any shout outs you would like to give, the floor is yours.
Listen, I want to shout out to QLM because that guy always pulls through. I know he's from Saudi Arabia. He plays in a lot of more important leagues than the Collegiate League, and it's always a chore to have him come to games, but I had him, or he was able to give up he was gonna stream his Champ 3 games tonight, and I asked him politely to please come to the game, and he pulled through, and I think that was the difference maker. So I'd like to shout him out. I'd like to shout out my roommate here, Dan. He's always got my back. He's always cheering me on from behind. Yeah, love my boy Dan. So those are my big shout outs. And obviously the whole team came together and played well down the stretch. So
Yeah, hashtag Team Dan.
Team
Okay,
Dan, yeah.
Team Dan.
Hashtag Team Dan is
Regardless,
right.
regardless, thank you for sitting down and talking with me again. It was great being able to peek into your mind a little bit and see what was going on behind the scenes. So thank you for sitting down and talking with us.
It was a pleasure talking to you guys. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, well, there you have it. That is just going to about wrap things up tonight for us here at the Unified Collegiate League. It has been an absolute banger from start to finish. Had an amazing lower finals game. I cannot wait to get into the grands next week, but keep in mind of all the matches that we have going on throughout the week. Tuesday is going to be Rocket League, Wednesday is League of Legends, Thursday is Valorant, Friday is Super Smash Brothers. So there is still more esports action to be had here at the Unified Collegiate League. Again, big thank you, of course, to Llama, who is not here with us right now. They were here with us all night long, did a phenomenal job. Absolutely love working with them. Again, big shout out to Zeph, who's doing all the real work behind the scenes, again making all of the magic happen. Thank you to both teams for coming out, all the players involved, and thank you, the viewer, just for tuning in and again helping us make this all possible. I have been Captain Etsoka, and this has been the Unified Collegiate League for Overwatch 2. We will see you next week. Have a great night.